Well, winter's upon us, and well, it's November now here in France, and quite frankly, it's blooming cold outside. Woke up this morning and everything was covered in white frost. Not snow, but just frost. And it's all very well, but when I come into my workshop, it's not even 5 degrees in here. So what I've done is, I quickly whacked it on a little fan heater down here just to take the chill off, and it sort of, I can start feeling it now. I'll turn it off for a minute, because you probably hear that. It's a bit drony. Even more drony than me. Anyway, keep still, I keep wandering about. So I'm quite fortunate in here that I've got 3 workshops. Now, each workshop is 10 by 5 metres, so it's about 50 square metres. So I've got 150 square metres of workshops. But what I've done is I've split them into 3. Now, there always was some sort of wall there, but I've actually put walls in between. It's a workshop on that side, on the other side of that wall there, and I've got another workshop in here. This is my messy workshop in here. Now, the idea of that is just so I can actually separate the spaces and have each space is a lot easier to heat for this time of year. So frankly, I didn't really want to have this big open space, although it would be nice in some ways, and spending a fortune to heat it when there's only me in here sometimes, or most of the time in fact. So it made sense to have the segregated areas. But how do I actually heat my workshop? Well, before I get into that, you must kindly click like and subscribe and maybe the little bell icon, because then you get a warm, buzzy feeling in your pocket that will be me uploading another woodworking sort of video. Anyway, heating my workshop. Well, I actually use a wood burner. Now, some people might say, don't have a wood burner in your workshop, it's dangerous. Well, I've been doing it for years now and I've never any had problems with it, as long as you're sensible. You don't leave it, let it roar away like a mad thing. So, the problem is with wood burners is that generally you cannot burn sawdust, and that's my biggest waste product is the sawdust. No, okay, you get offcuts from that as well, don't you? But it's, I don't get many offcuts because since I've been doing my scroll sawing as well, pretty much everything that is off the end of, shutters or doors or whatever, ends up going through the scroll saws, and my offcuts are tiny, so that you're never going to heat a workshop with them. So I use what you call a sawdust burner. Now the difference between a sawdust burner and a ordinary wood burner is the way it draws its air. See, the problem with let's put this down. I keep wandering around like an idiot. Let's put that down. Okay, the problem with most wood burners is they draw the air through the bottom, and as soon as you put your sawdust in, this stuff, into your wood burner, all it does is just chokes it, and all you just get lots and lots of smoke. So what you need a wood burner that can actually put the air into the mass of the sawdust. So if you're filling your wood burner out with sawdust, in this case I've got this little Ardennes Turbo unit here, which I've had for years, and it is kind of in the, it's in the stages of death, I think. It's had its day. Just like poor old Darth Vader. He died. Anyway. Marcus, I am your father. No, I don't think so. Anyway, sawdust. Okay, this stuff here, right? Now, that comes out, these are chippings out of my planer. Dust extractor, and a bit of a mixture of fine and coarse shavings, because it's from a saw as well. And the problem with that is, as soon as you put it on the fire, it'll just smother it, and you just get loads of smoke, and it might burn through it, it might not. The thing about this kind of wood burner, although it's had lots of repairs done to it, I have a weld on the top on there, and that's now got a bit wonky as well. I'll show you. You see here, it's got a bit nasty there. So it needs a bit of TLC this year again. I made new fire brick for inside it, which all I did was, it sounds a bit bad, I got a bit of corrugated iron, I bent it around it, and I used ferro cement, and I filled all the outside with sharp sand and ferro cement, obviously as it's cement, a concrete mix, and let it go off, and it's been like that for a few years now, and it's been working really well. The only thing is the steel around it keeps corroding, as it does because of the heat. So this here needs a new bend on the back here, what have you. But anyway, how does it work? It has the usual air intake on the bottom here, which I've had to fabricate. So everyone's look at this and think, oh my god, you've got to change that blooming thing. So I've got that on the bottom there, which helps the control the air from the bottom, but it don't really do it anyway, because it's this thing up the top here that does it. There's a tube that also needs replacing, and it should be a bit longer than that. It's not going all the way to the bottom. Now, the idea of that tube is it takes air from the top but puts it into the mass of sawdust. It's a thing that's being filled with sawdust, and it's burning away quite happily, but it can't draw any air only from the top, you'll find it'll just burn the top and slowly burn down. You wouldn't actually get a roaring fire in there. But with that, what happens is it puts the air, I'll take that out of there, and it puts the air into the mass of the sawdust. Yes, it's all a bit Heath Robinson. It was new when I got it, and I've had it probably, 8 years? No, that's, I wasn't new, that was used. I bought it used. I have had it about 8 years. Yeah, good 8 years, this one. And I just keep tarting it up and making sure it keeps going. And like I say, I don't leave it on its own. I'm usually always in here. So it does its job. It works really well. You have other options, obviously, for heating your workshop. So you can have halogen heaters. You can have electric fan heater, like I had on when I came in. And there's various versions of that. You can get big ones, small ones, you name it. And I do use them, just get the chill off when I first come in here. But during the day, to get constant heat during the day. And also, because of the mass of concrete I put in there, that's also like a big heat store, so it helps keep the chill out of here overnight. So if I've done some finishing, whatever, done some varnishing, and I need it to dry overnight, the temperature in here doesn't drop too low until about 5 o'clockish. So it's had a chance to actually get most of the solvents out of the finish. So it's a good little thing, and they're definitely worth it. This was the Ardennes Turbo 5. Obviously, there's other versions, the same idea. But the concept basically is, if you're considering building something out of an old gas bottle, which would be absolutely perfect, if you can get yourself, let's say 20 odd kilo gas bottle, the big tall ones, and cut them about and what have you. Obviously, make sure you've got no gas in before you start welding it. You can make that quite easily into quite a decent wood burner, because the thickness of the steel is quite considerable. Definitely worth a go. Especially if you're that way inclined, if you like making things like I do. So anyway, that's how I heat my workshop. You can obviously get your electric. Costs you a blooming fortune in a place like this, because of all stone walls and what have you. And although I have insulated best that I can in there, I've got insulation on the ceiling, I've got insulation on the top of the ceiling, insulation in the floor, but still, you've got to have heat. That's only going to prevent the heat getting lost. It's not going to actually make your heat just insulating, is it? You've got to put the heat in there. So, for me, this works a treat. So if you are considering a wood burner, I would suggest one of these. If you've got an old wood burner you've already got, and it's got glass doors on the front, that's okay for burning wood on, like lumps of wood, but you can't really burn sawdust on it. But if you do want to burn sawdust on it, the thing I've done in the past, with that type of wood burner, I kept all my old cereal boxes. Just filled them with sawdust, and then they behave like logs. So you ram them tight with the old sawdust and chippings and stuff, and then whack them on, and you'll find they will burn through, because you've got the air around the outside of the box, and eventually it collapses, and then it just burns away, which is fine. So that does work, but it's a bit of a faff, isn't it? Anyway, that's how I heat my workshop. Anyway, don't forget, like and subscribe, and don't forget that little bell icon. Anyway, thank you for watching. And leave in the comments below, what do you use to heat your workshop? If anything. Or do you just, hibernate in the winter? That's like a hibernation.